Hey, all my burners out there. This is WeedMan 420 with the WeedMan 420 Chronicles. How's all my burners, tokers, smokers, chokers doing out there this evening? Mrs. WeedMan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Getting ready to smoke some great herb we got in front of you. Today, Mrs. WeedMan's going to start off with our smoking, and she's going to be smoking a little Kosher Kush. And this strain we've been smoking all week. So while she's toking on the Rick and Morty percolator bong, which is one of our new faves, which you guys have seen, I'm going to be telling you a little bit about this strain, telling you a little bit about the terpenes and stuff like that. So Kosher Kush was a winner of High Times Cannabis Cup for Best Indica in 2010, 2011, as well as Best Strain in 2011. Kosher Kush produces staggering levels of THC, known as one of the most ardiferous OG Kush-related strains. It has a unique yet familiar smell reminiscent to a rich earth and fruit. Mrs. WeedMan's going to be baked.
That was a little much.
Considered by many to be one of the tastiest smokes around. We won't know about Mrs. WeedMan because she's choking on it, so we'll have to go by my taste buds. The high is experienced and typical of many heavy strains, producing pronounced relaxation and pain relief with sleep, often following close behind. The terpenes in this one is you got some mycrine, which is mostly found in a lot of indicas. The most common terpene found in cannabis and has an earthly scent. Limonene, citrusy, which is citrus-scented terpene commonly believed to provide anxiety and stress relief. Carafoliene, which is peppery, spicy peppery terpene that may have anti-inflammatory benefits. I'm going to talk about this strain for a few minutes because Mrs. WeedMan and I smoked this for a week straight. And I absolutely love this as a nighttime strain. So the cannabis we're smoking from on this strain is by Rhythm. They're an Illinois cultivator, and on their bottle it says sleepy, relaxed, happy. This strain of Kosher Kush is 29.6%. It's THC of 0.906% and THCA of 28.724%. No CBD in it at all.
I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah. So with this, I absolutely love this strain. And here's why. The first part about this strain is the giggles. Mm-hmm. This made us laugh. Like, really laugh. And the jokes that, the one-liners that came out of both Mrs. WeedMan's mouth and my mouth, and make fun of one another, and the laughs, and just overall good times. I will tell you this is a strain that took care of my body. I don't know, the terpenes in there, and the cannabinoids in there, and everything gelled with me very well. My back didn't hurt. As you all know, I have some back issues. The sleep I got on this. I would smoke this every night if I can find it all the time. Absolutely would. Mrs. WeedMan, tell them about this strain real quick, how you felt while I go ahead and take a nice big fat rip like you did.
Yeah, Mr. WeedMan, I gotcha. I like this stuff. I kept thinking, I don't even get high from this stuff. Like, I don't get any head high. I don't feel cloudy. My brain feels actually like real sharp. My thoughts feel real sharp. My vision feels really clear. But then I'm like, yeah, because you're stoned.
It's a very good nice thinking
but you don't feel like cloudy. And I don't feel like my talk, like my speech is impaired at all. Maybe a little slower.
A little mellower, slower.
But then you get the giggles. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it gives you this clarity which I'm surprised there's no CBD, because I feel like you get this really calming effect across your body. It's not like an anxious high. It's very, very low key, clear-minded, and silly.
Absolutely.
I like it.
I like this strain a lot. It'll probably end up being one of our go-to indicas because it suits both Mrs. WeedMan's endocannabinoid system, and it suits my endocannabinoid system, as you've heard us talk about that in the last few episodes. I want to say a few things here before we get started on this episode. I want to say I hope everybody out there is doing well. I hope that, like we say at every episode, you're being kind to one another, friendly in this time of COVID-19, in time of all this stuff that's happening with Black Lives Matter and the presidency going on and everything that's going crazy. I just hope you guys can just love one another, smoke a lot of weed, and be happy. So this episode, though, we're going to talk about not all cannabis is the same. And we have a lot of stuff to talk about, but this is a very, very, to me, important thing to talk about. And it's about what's in your cannabis and cannabis testing in different states. And I have a bunch of stuff here to go over and talk to you about, and hopefully you understand. And like what Mrs. WeedMan has told, some people just want to smoke and get high. And we know that, because I like to do that too. But as I'm becoming more knowledgeable, and as we learn, we hope to teach you to learn about cannabis. This is an important topic, especially nowadays when you're getting it from a dispensary in your state if it's legal, or if you're getting it from your back end deal like Dov Boy always did and does. To know where you're getting and what's in your cannabis is very important, because who knows where that cannabis is coming from. If it's coming from Canada, if it's coming from Mexico, if it's coming from a different state that someone's transferring over to a different state. However you get your cannabis is up to you. I have no right to judge anybody on how you get your cannabis, but knowing what's in your cannabis is important. So hopefully this teaches something. So as we know, not all cannabis is the same, as we just described to you an awesome strain we're smoking right now. But with increasing legalization of both adult recreational and medicinal cannabis, there is a need for robust and reliable analytical testing to ensure consumer safety. As we say, no one has ever died from smoking cannabis. But if there's pesticides, if there's heavy metals, if there's microorganisms, is there residual solvents, on top of the good stuff, the cannabinoids, the terpenes, and all the good stuff that's in your cannabis that work with your endocannabinoid system, you have to understand something, though. Growers are putting different things in your cannabis, and you need to know what's in your cannabis and what's being grown. If you're not growing it at home yourself and you know what you're putting in your cannabis, you need to know what those cultivators and growers are doing. So, as lipids and cannabinoids fall within the purview of cannabis testing, therefore cultivators should be partnering with industry experts to help develop and validate methods for cannabis analysis and to increase the value of lab proficiency reports. So I did a bunch of research on this, okay? And here's something about state rights. And me and Mrs. WeedMan, as we smoke our cannabis, are having a little rosé. Little salute, Mrs. WeedMan.
France.
It's from France.
Cheers.
All day, all day, all day.
Clink. Those obviously weren't real crystal.
No,
because
not
if we
real
clinked
crystal.
them,
They would have broke. So, I told you this is a very giggling weed. State rights. Because the FDA still classifies cannabis as a Schedule 1 and they call it a drug. First mistake. Having a high potential for abuse and no accepted medical use, this class also includes heroin, LSD, and ecstasy. The U.S. federal government has mostly taken a hands-off approach to the cannabis regulation, just like your president now and your Democratic runner, Joe Biden. They're both leaving it up to the states and don't want to take anything with the federal government involved. So it's going to still stay on a federal one fucking drug list. Crap. Anyway, I don't want to get on my soapbox like Mrs. WeedMan always does. The exception is cannabis products that make medical claims which are forbidden without prior FDA approval, just like vitamins, just like certain things. Without FDA approval, it's forbidden to talk about. Okay? Cannabis-based drugs that claim therapeutic effects must go through the same lengthy FDA approval process as other drugs, including clinical trials for safety and efficiency. So here's a catch on this on the state rights, okay? With vitamins and let's just say opioids, those are all federally scheduled. Well, not vitamins. Mrs. WeedMan can talk a little about the vitamin part of it, but I on opioids, it's like a Schedule 3 or 4 or something like that. So there's been testing on it. So it could be one ingredient in that opioid that they find that helps relieve pain as a painkiller. And so the FDA approves it. And they will not approve cannabis. Remember that. Although the FDA has not approved cannabis for any medical use, the agency has approved 2 drugs, Marinol and Syndrose, that contain a synthetic form of THC. Both drugs were approved for treatment of anorexia in AIDS patients, and for nausea and vomiting associated with cancer chemotherapy in patients who did not respond to conventional treatments. So the FDA is willing to approve synthetic drugs, but not approve something from Mother Earth. Something that's grown in soil, just like corn, just like friggin' tomatoes, just like fruit. It's the fruit of the earth, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that, okay? So, cannabis testing requirements vary by state, but most states require testing and labeling for potency only, THC and CBD. Here's what I'm going to ask you guys all to stop doing when you go to your dispensary. Stop just asking for what the THC content is in your cannabis and not asking what the terpenes are, what the cannabinoids are. You all go in your friggin' dispensaries, which is great, and all you're doing is training yourselves and your bud tenders to ask what the highest THC potency is. Now, let me explain something to you on this. When they do their testing, when they send their buds in, the cultivators, to get it tested, they're sending the tippy top of that nug because that's where the highest potency is. And they're sending it into that because they want the most percentage so they can get the best profitability from that weed. It might not be 38% through the whole entire strain of that bud, but you sent it to the lab and it could have been the tippy top, the perfect little nippy nug on the top that they sent, and that came out at 37%, but the rest of the bud can have been gone down in percentage as you go down. Remember that, people, when you're looking at your THC label, stop just asking for THC. You're wrong, because I've smoked 14% THC to 38% THC, and I've been baked better off of 14% because there's better cannabinoids in there. There's more CBDA, CBDN, THCA, and THC. And Mrs. WeedMan's laughing at me because I'm on my fucking soapbox now.
Louise.
Just trying to explain some shit to you people because I'm trying. This is why I love this Kosher Kush.
Oh, my Lord.
It makes me happy.
Wow.
So anyway.
You all right?
I'm fucking high and I'm having some fun.
I think
so.
Breathe.
A little more rose.
Okay. One more breath. Okay.
All right, Mrs. WeedMan.
There you go.
Potency test. The primary cannabinoid of interest for potency test is THC. Like I said, number one, CBD and then CBDN. If you don't know what CBN is, it's the non-psychoactive in cannabis, which now I'm finding out that people can smoke and it doesn't turn up on a drug test. Higher CBN, more body relaxation, no psychoactive effect, which most people like because most people don't like getting in their own head to try to figure themselves out, but they rather have the body high. Check out some CBN, people. Get it from a reliable source. Just a little tip from WeedMan 420 for all you people that get drug tested still. A breakdown product of THC CBN is an indicator of cannabis deterioration due to age or poor storage conditions. The two most common methods of potency analysis are high-performance liquid chromatography. I got that right. HPLC and UV detection, and gas chromatography, the GC. With flame ionization detection, although GC is more cost-effective and simpler than HPLC, this method requires sample derivation to quantitate. Wow, I'm doing well. I'm smoking this all the time now. I can actually read. Both the free and acid forms of THC and CBD. This is because the heat necessary for GC sample injection converts THCA into THC, like we've talked to you in prior episodes, and CBDA into CBD. You need to light it to get those. Therefore, without driverization, the free and acid forms cannot be distinguished or quantified. There's a table here. I'm not going to talk about that because they go through cannabinoids, terpenes, residual solvents, pesticides, heavy metals, microbial contamination. If you don't know what microbial contamination is, it's mold, mildew, bacteria, yeast, mycotoxins, and aflatoxins. May be harmful, especially in immune-compromised medical marijuana patients. So remember that. Terpenes. Present and analytical challenges because they are non-popular and structural similar, and many structural isomers exist. Mass spectrum cannot distinguish terpenes that co-elute from GC column and all the yada yada yada, all technical shit that I don't feel like reading to you right now. But just remember, they're not getting the proper terpene analysis with the testing they're doing. Also, residual solvents, they're testing for that. Pesticides. Do you want to take bug spray when you smoke your cannabis? No. Okay? It's hard to keep pests away when you grow your stuff outdoors. Remember that? If they can't use natural like neem oil, they're using pesticides. I'm not saying everybody, but remember this. As more and more big corporations are getting into the game, my burners and stoners and potheads out there, remember this. They will use pesticides because it's cheaper and it's easier to get their hands on. They don't want to spend big money. They want to make profitability, okay? Heavy metals such as arsenic, mercury, lead, chromium can enter cannabis plants from contaminated soil. These metals can be detected at trace amounts by inductively compelled plasma, optical emissions, spectro. Man, why do they use such big words? Like, microorganisms, like we talked about. So just remember that this testing is very important. That states start getting this right. I want to read something to you that I took some notes on, and I thought this was really good. Some little tidbits here, okay? There are 100 different chemicals in given cannabis plants. Each of the thousands of cannabis strains or chemivores has a unique chemical profile, meaning it has a different combination and ratio of those chemicals. In contrast, most pharmaceutical medications have a few active compounds. Therein lies the challenge to researchers face when trying to understand how the endocannabinoid system works with cannabis. Instead of being able to study the effects of one compound on one receptor, in order to fully understand how cannabis works, scientists will have to examine thousands of different combinations of compound and receptors. It's not easy. This is why partially doctors and scientists don't yet know which of what kind of cannabis strains best treats specific medicinal conditions or symptoms. Patients seeking cannabis treatment often have to go through a lot of trial and error before finding the strain that gives them relief. This is what we talked about in prior episodes. I love this Kosher Kush. Mrs. WeedMan likes this Kosher Kush. Okay? It suits well with my endocannabinoid system. I might not see this now. My dispensary might not carry this, but this is a medicine that's good for us. We like it. Okay? So I either have to wait for them to grow it again or find another dispensary so that I have to leave my dispensary because I'm a medical card holder and switch it because that takes 24 to 72 hours. And then if not, I have to go get it for rec, and then you got to pay all the outlandish taxes that Illinois is charging. So, and then remember this, each state has its own protocols. Here's some bad behavior, okay, that you guys need to understand. While most issues with potency and safety measures in the cannabis industry stem from a lack of standardized methods, there have also been reports of bad behavior. Sometimes it could be the cultivators who are being dishonest. In many cases, cannabis growers themselves typically choose the samples they send in for testing, which may allow them to influence testing results by cherry-picking samples known to have higher THC concentrations or to be free of contaminants. Like I explained a little bit earlier, they grab the tippy top. Other times, the testing labs are to blame. In one high-profile, for example, California's Bureau of Cannabis Control caught the director of Sonoqua Analytical Labs in Sacramento fabricating pesticides, testing results for hundreds of batches of cannabis. Even without a direct manipulation, labs can enhance results, for example, by using testing protocols likely to inflate potency measurements. James McRae, a data scientist and founder of the cannabis consultancy firm Straight Line Analytics, began investigating Washington State's cannabis testing several years ago and found that the labs most likely to approve batches for safety also produced high scores for THC concentrations. Some results were so inflated they are virtually impossible statistically speaking and eventually led to regulator shutdowns, one of the state's largest testing labs in 2017. Growers can take advantage of the system or try different lab units until they find the answer in what they want and the most desirable results, a practice McRae calls lab shopping, which in turn benefits labs that produce inflated results. Now, I'm going to say something to you on that. I got a new cartridge for my dispensary. I'm not going to mention the brand right now or anything like that. I don't have it in front of me. I bought it on Thursday. Thursday. And I've hit that thing a couple times here and there, like I always do with a pen if I'm out and I don't want to, I'm not on flower. I have not gotten high from this thing. and it's boasts 89% THC. Right, Mrs. Weedman? Remember the other night on Saturday we smoked where we were just hanging out, and you're like, "You high?" I'm like, "No," and I asked you, and you said, "Yeah, you felt it." I'm like, "I didn't feel a thing," and I hit it 3 times.
Right.
Usually, a good pen, if it's legit, and this came from a dispensary. I didn't get this off the back alley deal, and I'm not getting high from it. I don't. Do I have to take 5 hits of this to get it baked? I hope not, because that's a waste of money. I don't use cartridges that much unless it's like quick on the go, or if we're in the house and I don't want to go downstairs and roll a joint or smoke out of the bong, I'll just take a couple rips if I'm going outside real quick. Nothing. I felt absolutely nothing. Went and played disc golf with that. Nothing. Not a thing. So you got to understand something. This is true, and you have to realize and know sometimes not even your cultivators to be trusted after doing some research. And I read a lot on this just to make sure I wasn't bullshitting you all and to make sure I had my ducks in order. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of articles about lab testing, but I'll give you a quick tip if you want to know just basically what your state laws are. Go to normal.org and go to state laws, and you can click on any state, and you can find what your state law is that is medical or recreational, or even if it's just decriminalized or anything like that. So I just clicked on Illinois laws and penalties. Okay. Possession, 30 grams or less, no penalty. So it goes to list. If you have more than 30 or 100 grams, it's a misdemeanor or 1 year or $2,500. All the bullshit that you shouldn't even be for a felony or any of this crap. I mean, this is what just each state does. What the cultivation tells you about, hash and concentrates, paraphernalia, miscellaneous penalty and details, the sale. So delivery on school grounds, so delivery to a minor, trafficking, cultivation, hash and concentrates, paraphernalia. So, I mean, the list goes on and on. This is a great website. I've used it in the past to research Illinois, to research other states I'm going to. That's how I found out that Michigan was reciprocal to Illinois card. So go to normal.org. It's a great website, but if you want to know your state laws, I highly, highly recommend normal.com. I'm going to take a sip of this wine real quick. Miss Weedman, what do you think about that? Since you're sitting here all quiet, all baked out of your mind.
Oh, I don't know.
Mrs. Weedman,
I'm listening.
She's listening. She's learning. See? It's all about learning. Oklahoma, I'm proud of you. Now enforcing medical cannabis product testing. There was I'm not going to read this whole article, but Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority listed 21 licensed labs across the state for the market that the new marijuana business fact book projects will reach $700 million to $860 million in sales this year. That's Oklahoma. Jeez. I like Oklahoma's laws. I've read a little bit about it. There's like 2,500 licenses they gave in one state. That's absolutely freaking. That's California numbers. I mean, that's crazy. I'm proud of you, Oklahoma. I'm proud of you for the regulatory, making sure that people are giving legit products, making sure that their stuff is legit for the state. Their mandatory testing requirements apply to all marijuana products sold by a grower or a processor. Sales in 2019 were estimated $345 million. Great job. So just, it's real good to see that they're doing that. So hopefully you learned something on that. You know, on this show that we've talked about since the first episode was we were trying to break the stigma of being a stoner. And it's nothing wrong with being a stoner. I know hundreds and hundreds of stoners, and, we're just trying to break the stigma of it, and we call ourselves burners because people have perceived stoners as being a bad name. I don't believe so. I love you, my stoners out there. You're perfect who you are. But to try to get the government to switch, we need to break. Every movie has a stoner. They don't call anybody burners. Burners, like I always said, they're known to go out and get shit done. Stoners are fucking some of the greatest people I know. But Mrs. WeedMan is going to talk about the lazy stoner stereotype and finding out why this needs to be smashed and finding out why marijuana consumers exercise more. So, take it away, Mrs. WeedMan. It's your turn.
Well, if you are one to exercise, does smoking marijuana affect your routine? You might be surprised. There is a new study of older Americans found.
How old?
Older Americans.
But how old? Like our age old? What's the age? I want to know.
Adults over 60.
Over 60. All right,
Yes.
we're not there yet.
Yes. Mhm. So there's a new study of older Americans, and it found that cannabis consumers tended to do more formal exercise and engage in more physical activities than non-consumers during the course of a 4-month trial. Compared to older adult non-users, says the study out of the University of Colorado at Boulder, older adult cannabis users had lower body mass index at the beginning of an exercise intervention study. They engaged in more weekly exercise during the intervention and were engaged in a more exercise-related activity at the conclusion of the intervention. In other words, not only were adults over 60 who used marijuana generally in better shape than their peers who abstained from cannabis, they were also more responsive to an assigned 4-month exercise intervention trial, essentially a regimen of physical activity prescribed by a clinician. At minimum, the evidence suggests that cannabis users, it didn't hinder their ability to engage in physical activity, to participate in a supervised exercise program, or to increase their fitness as the result of physical activity. A separate study out of the University of Colorado published last year found that a majority of marijuana consumers reported that cannabis use before or after exercising improves the experience and aids in their recovery. The researchers have argued that their findings should encourage further research into how marijuana and exercise might coexist. It may be that different types of exercise, such as those that require minimal fine motor condition or present low injury risk, might be the most positively associated with cannabis use. Perhaps most optimistically, the author suggests cannabis could even be used to encourage older adults to stay active. The results are preliminary. With both more extensive and rigorous additional research needed, the discovery of the role of cannabis as a potential facilitator of physical activity among older adult use may hold promise. So that was really long-winded, and I'm really high, so I had some challenges getting through that. And my glasses, I need a new prescription. COVID-19, I think, made my blurry eyes blurrier. So anyway, yes, I think that's pretty crazy that smoking or engaging in marijuana use makes you engage better in an exercise program, because it's always been the contrary, that, if you're a stoner, then you're just lazy and you just want to lay around. And I don't really get that feeling at all.
No, not at all.
I mean, we can go to like a live show and just dance all night long, and we're not even drinking. We're just hitting the pen every here and there.
Or lighting joints.
Yeah.
Making
just
big clouds.
dancing like crazy.
I mean, that's great to see older people using cannabis and still be able to exercise and be able to live their life. It probably makes their bodies feel a lot better. You know, I mean, working for 25, 30 years, 40 years,
right.
You know, and all of a sudden you're retired, you know, and you need to do stuff. You need to be active. You know, how many people that they just retire and either die or just don't do anything.
Right.
You know, and this is good to hear. I mean, older generations. Well, here's the craziest thing. Going off of that generation, you got to realize you millennials, who I love because you're my kids, think you call the people from that generation boomers. Do you understand that generation? Everything you're seeing, what's going on right now, they did it, but then got duped to go back to college and they got their asses handed to them. You know, they were great people in the 60s. They fought the man. They fought for cannabis rights. They fought for civil rights. They fought for peace. They fought for unity back in the 60s. And a lot of them watch the show Woodstock on Netflix if you want to see what the hell's going on, okay? And know what's going on. Watch some movies from the 60s. What you're seeing today, they did it. And now you call them all boomers. But now, look, they're bringing back cannabis into their lives. They're exercising. They're living life. Yeah, they got beat up a little bit. Yeah, they had to go into the real world and get a job. Yeah, they made some money. Yeah, they took the American dream and did what they want to do. But now they're retiring. Now they need to keep active. Now they need to exercise. And you know what? Weed is back into their life like it was in the 60s. Okay? So you 90s kids like myself, me and Mrs. WeedMan, we're 90 kids. You know, we tried to fight the system. We're Generation Xers. You millennials are trying to do the same thing. It all comes in full circle. History repeats itself. Okay? So keep on fighting the good fight out there, especially for the cannabis fight. You know what I want to fight? And I keep on saying this. I want to fight the system when it comes to cannabis and more taxes on cannabis. I think it's bullshit. In Illinois, cities now start as of July 1st can start putting more taxes on not to the dispensaries or the cultivators, to the marijuana purchasers, to us, which is total horseshit. They can raise up 3% more in any county that they want in the state of Illinois, and cities and counties and villages that passed an individual 3% cannabis tax could start. They start collecting by July 1st. In the Metro East, that means more revenue for St. Clair County, Collinsville, Saugatuck, areas that passed a tax levy where the region's 2 current dispensaries operate. Madison County won't collect any additional tax. Thank you for them. But more and more counties are going to tack it on. I know Illinois did. I know that Chicago did. So, it's ridiculous the taxes recreational is paying. Absolutely ridiculous. You're paying almost like 50% tax now and you don't even know it. So Illinois is going to keep on taxing cannabis. Learn how to grow, people. That's all I got to tell you. Learn how to grow and make your own weed. Go to a dispensary every once in a while. Support a local business if you run out of weed on your own stuff. You want to try something new. But even in California, the heavy tax burdens there are there's some great growers out there. And their heavy taxes are out in California. And a lot of these guys and gals who are growing cannabis all along illegally in the Green Triangle there in Humboldt County, they were all underground growers and making a good living and loving their life. And a lot of them decided to go, not all of them, but some of them decided to go legal and fill out the paperwork, get their license, and they're getting charged like 45-50% tax. That's just the grower. That's not including the dispensaries. And I went to California, bought some weed, and it cost me some big money. I was like, holy smokes! I bought 3 things, and it cost me $75, and 20 of that was tax. So you're seeing taxes going more and more because the government's getting their hands on everything. Maybe either from missing out all the years of just doing drug busts and stealing all the money that they got, or they friggin' taxing now the hell out of it. So, I hate taxes, especially on something I can grow myself. So, something kind of cool though. The House includes marijuana protection for state banks and universities in the next funding bill. As Congress prepares a large-scale legislation to fund federal agencies for the next year, they're going to help out the banks, to help out cannabis companies, and there's going to be cannabis banking, which is great. Protecting state medical marijuana laws on this next bill. They're going to provide some cannabis research, which is fine, but they still need to get off the Schedule 1 so we can really do some stuff and the FDA can approve the stuff that actually really heals you. So there's some good stuff in this next bill. There's going to be some hemp and CBD regulations because of the 2014 Farm Bill. One good one, though, we have a few veterans in our family, but another new spending bill covering the Department of Veteran Affairs has very little cannabis language in it, but advocates to may try again attach a bill following VA doctors to recommend medicinal marijuana. That'd be dope. That'd be awesome because a lot of them have PTSD. They need it. It's great medicine. It's been proven to help PTSD. So let's hope that they pass this and get some shit together for us. I was talking earlier about our president now and Joe Biden. And Trump is making a lot of hell. And it's just his team and the attorney general. And he doesn't like cannabis at all in the cannabis industry. So Trump just said, let the states handle anything. So he's not going to handle anything federally. And also now we have Biden saying the same thing. He just got interviewed again. We'll let the states handle it. I'm not going to touch it. It's never going to come off. It's just horse shit. It's bullshit. And I'm upset again that we're going to go into another election and the American people do not get the choice to vote on this. Why are we letting our president and the next president, whoever's going to come in next, decide what the people want? Why are we letting our congressmen and women and our senators, why are we letting them pass something that we should be able to pass on the next ballot federally? Okay? If we want to get it off to Schedule 1, and I bet you 75% of the people will vote yes on that, because that's how many people now in the United States believe that marijuana should be off the Federal 1 list. So if we get at least 100 million people to vote, I bet you 52 million people, maybe more, 75%, so 75 million people will probably vote yes. Get it off to Schedule 1. Put it on the ballot. Let's see what happens. Even if it's just a fake one, to see how many people do vote for it, then you put it on the next ballot, fine. Do something with it. That's just my opinion. Take it or leave it. Some
aggressive.
cannabis.
Aggressive.
I'm being very aggressive today. I don't know why. I just smoked some more. I told you, this strain, like I said, it says sleepy, which I am not right now. Relaxed. I'm very relaxed and happy. I have like a permanent smile on my face right now, but I am very, very hyped up. And that's why this made us laugh and giggly.
I'm having struggles with seeing anything.
This is
I think I described this as making me very clear-minded, but I think I smoked too much.
Mrs. WeedMan can't see so good. God damn it.
I'm trying. Keep putting my glasses on, like further away from my eyes.
You did take a big rip, though.
Woo.
And you haven't smoked.
I did like a double dip on that frickin'
You haven't
bomb.
smoked the Kosher Kush out of the Rick and Morty bubbly. You've only been smoking it out of the steamrollers. So different high.
That's right.
Yes, and you took a major rip.
Yeah, I was choking. Whew.
I don't know. Here's something good.
All right.
Here's another one about Illinois. So I'm bringing up Illinois right now, but Illinois saw record-breaking marijuana sales in June, including from out-of-state visitors. You guys want to know the numbers? I'm going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
June, items sold, 994,545 items sold. In-state resident sales, 35,256,165.45. Out-of-state resident sales, the largest month in Illinois' record history, because it's also June. It's also beautiful in Chicago in June. So we saw people, isn't there like COVID and shit?
Yeah.
And we had more money.
Some dispensaries weren't even open.
Was our state on lockdown? No, actually, it wasn't in June.
It
finally opened up in June. So here it is, 12,390,271.80. Total sales. It was the largest month in Illinois history so far in recreational and medical cannabis use. $47,646,437.25.
Wow.
In a lockdown. I'm proud of you. Thanks for coming to our state. And I don't know the tax numbers yet on that because they don't put that out yet. We won't find that out till August and how much tax that got pulled.
Crazy.
But this is not the only state. This is not the only state.
Right.
Oregon had recreational marijuana sales numbers skyrocket in April, May, and June. Okay, more so than ever in history. Colorado was up, like I said, 45% for the month of May and June. Everywhere. California. I mean,
everybody was home.
Yeah, but also you got to think.
Like, what else?
It's June though.
It's summer.
And it's summer. And what did I say when I posted something? I said,
people are starting to get stir crazy.
People are going to smoke a lot of weed this summer. I want to know just 4th of July week numbers because I saw a lot of big clouds and it wasn't just only fireworks I saw out there. So I can't wait to see. I just want to know the first 7 days in July what it was, or like from like June 28th till July 3rd. I want to see those numbers, like the 7-day rolling numbers. That's what I want to see and how much they did. So way to go, Illinois. Hopefully you use that tax dollars right and stop taxing so high. I've talked to you guys in the past about this. I don't really get the munchies that much, but with all this Illinois sales that have been going on in cannabis, I wonder how much friggin' junk food and how much junk food you guys been all eating, because I know my belly hangs over the counter right now since COVID happened started in March, and I've eaten a lot of junk food because I've been baked every day. So, I don't know. Do you think legal cannabis is increasing junk food, Mrs. Weedman? Sales? What do you think? Because my belly's hanging.
Well, actually, we measured our bellies, and yeah, our bellies are both hanging. We've been doing way too much snacking.
When your belly hangs over the counter, when you can reach up to it and just you
just rest your belly on the counter.
Just rest your belly. I'm pretty proud of that, though.
Just like spill it over the edge of the counter.
I'm not going to tell you what the measurement was.
While you're like shoveling Doritos in your mouth after you just ate a handful of Twizzler nibs and then before that you had a couple Oreos and you still haven't like hit the spot. So now you're going to go on to pretzels maybe or cheese balls. I don't know. Maybe some leftover coffee cake from Sunday. I don't know. And then you're like, oh, yeah, that's my belly hanging over the edge of the counter.
So we don't even need to go through this article because we just told you what happened to us in the last 3 months.
So, yeah, that's us. Well, actually, there is a new buzzword in the world of cannabis munchie movement, and it is wellness. The cannabis community wants Americans to know, or at least to think, that instead of scarfing down fast food and Little Debbie's, whenever it comes time for your appetite to come out after you've smoked, these people are grabbing fruits and vegetables.
We have grapes upstairs. We grab a handful of grapes we leave on the counter when we're baked.
And then that doesn't hit the spot.
Not at like 11 o'clock at night before we go to bed.
Right. But marijuana users are really opting for healthier choices. So a study in 2015 with the Journal of Social Science Research Network, they found that junk food sales have increased by around 2% in states where marijuana is illegal. Of course, it's not a huge uptick or anything, but it does show that high-fat, sugary foods still have a shot at becoming a stoner staple in the areas of the United States where marijuana consumption is now part of normal society. Yeah, I think that's just crazy.
Listen, you're a munchier. You get the munchies.
It's like a mentality.
Paulie gets the munchies too.
Yeah.
We've talked about Paulie with his munchie boy. We've talked about him, but you're his mother, so now I know where it comes from, though.
Yeah.
You guys can.
And sometimes I'm like eating. I'm like, I don't even have the munchies. Why am I eating? It's like, well, I smoked, so aren't I just supposed to eat a snack? Like, well, and then it's like, well, I guess I could just stop. I'm like, nah. I'll just keep going. Give me some more snacks. Chocolate. I think I'm feeling some chocolate.
I will tell you one time.
Chocolate and rosé is good.
Yeah, it's actually not bad. I will tell you a story when I got the munchies one time. I was like 19 and
with raspberry.
My brother can attest to this story. He can attest to this story because he was a friend of ours from high school brought over a joint. We were smoking it, and the last thing I remember of that night was sitting in my kitchen in my parents' house eating a bag of cheese combos and drinking orange juice, and it hit the spot. It hit the spot. I gross. Right. I know. But at that moment, at that time, in that life, combos and orange juice was life.
In that life, were you a different human?
I could have been because I ate combos and orange juice, so I could have been a monster.
That was the end of that life.
Yeah, that was the end of that because that never happened again. But that moment.
So does that make you like 14 years older, really?
I was 19 at the time. No, I wish. It went over my head.
Forget it.
I know.
I might not have.
Some listeners on here might get it. I didn't. I'm terrible at math. So here's some cool stuff for all you burners and stoners and potheads and tokers out there. Kansas City, Missouri just removed all criminal penalties for pot possession. Way to go, Kansas City. Way to go. I cannot wait to come out there and eat barbecue again. I love Kansas City.
Song go? Kansas City.
Sing it.
Kansas City, here I come.
No,
I can't sing.
That was a great Michael Jackson tune.
Hey,
actually, Jackson 5.
Can Sam, our editor, like cut that out, that singing I did?
No, that was perfect. We're keeping it.
Really? Damn it.
Anyway,
Sam.
Way to go.
Help
way
me.
to go. It's Shoddy to you. Shoddy, the producer.
Shoddy.
Um,
Can I say that?
Shoddy.
Shoddy.
Here's some other good stuff.
Shoddy. Fix
Decriminalization in
Thanks.
Austin and Nashville. Stop prosecuting. Cannabis-related arrests will only be made if there is an immediate safety threat of the part of separate felony-level investigation, according to memo published by Austin Police Department on July 2nd, 2020. Way to go, Austin. I like Austin. It's a great city. I've had a lot of fun on there. 6th Street's going to blow up with all that cannabis that's going to be smoking on there because you can't get in any trouble. Don't quote me on that, but they're going to drop hundreds of marijuana cases, so even if you get busted with smoking a joint, they're going to let you out anyway. So way to go, Austin, Music City. And then here it comes, Music City, Nashville. Marijuana possession in Nashville. The Nashville District Attorney Office announced that it will no longer prosecute marijuana possession charges for less than a half ounce. Marijuana charges do a little to promote health and even less to promote public safety. The DA's office said in a statement, pointing out that low-level marijuana charges disproportionately impact minorities. In Nashville, blacks made up 64% of the arrests in each year since 2014 for simple possession of marijuana, while white people have the most, made up of 36% in a given year. Way to go, Nashville. Way to take care of it out there. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm scaring Mrs. WeedMan. I'm so intense right now. Idaho.
Relax.
I've been to Idaho once. I like Idaho.
Oh, you did go. Yeah.
I did go one time. I
You
like
said
it.
it was beautiful.
It is a beautiful state. But what I like about it more is Idaho activists have formally requested that the state allow them to collect signatures electronically for medical cannabis legalization initiative following a series of federal court rulings on the issue and the case filed by a separate campaign. They got a bunch of signatures. Let's see. Rush Belleville, campaign spokesman for the Idaho Cannabis Coalition, told Marijuana Moment that the group was thrilled to see the appeals court refuse to stay the electronic signature gathering decision. Way to go, Idaho! They got something like 180,000 signatures to get on like the ballot, and currently pending action in the Senate committee before it moves forward. So, Idaho, you guys need to get this going, man. You know, legalization bids pay off in Arizona and Nebraska. Okay, for all you people that go to Colorado and your drive through Nebraska, either way, please just drive friggin' speed limit and don't do anything stupid. Do you realize in Nebraska, until this goes legal there is checkpoints throughout the whole entire state. So if you're thinking to go to Colorado and you're going to pick up a bunch of cannabis just because it's cheaper out there and then drive it back to smoke, if you do anything stupid going through Nebraska, you're going to get popped. I know, not from experience myself, but I know and I've heard from people and talked to people that have got popped. I know people come through all the time through there and don't get popped. Just be careful. Don't be stupid. So, and call 1-800, was it 122-2222 if you get in trouble.
Ted Turner is the lawyer for you. Call 222-2222.
There you go.
I'm just singing because I can't read right now.
Cannabis legalization in Arizona. 420,000. I love the number. 420,000 signatures with the Secretary of State by July 1st. Well over 237,45,000 required to qualify for the initiative of the November ballot. So it's going on the ballot in November for what am I thinking here? They're already medicinal, so for
recreational.
Full recreational. Thank you. See, you're not.
You got stuck there.
I did get stuck there for a second. I lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
Cannabis legalization in Nebraska. Meanwhile, 24 hours later, Nebraska activists submitted over 182,000 signatures qualified for proposed 2020 medical marijuana ballot initiative. You know what? If you're looking to get in the cannabis industry, you got to go to states that are starting from, like right now, medicinal. So you need to go to those states, like the states that aren't medicinal yet. You need to get in there now if you want to get into the industry. Nebraska, Indiana, Kentucky. Yes, they're all CBD. You can grow hemp and CBD, but you can't grow if you want to start fighting for legalization in those states that I just mentioned, there's more. You need to go to those states and fight for it, okay? You ain't going to be able to do anything in Illinois. The laws are done. And it's so hard to get a license here. If you move to somewhere like Michigan, I'll give you a little tip here. If you move to somewhere like Michigan, you get a state residency, you can grow 12 plants on your own. Don't forget that. So if you like cold weather and you like a beautiful state, Michigan's for you. So it is a beautiful state, though.
I like Wisconsin better.
Wisconsin's a beautiful state too. There's another state that's not legal yet too, so you
I
go to
know.
Wisconsin and fight for it. You can grow
Right?
hemp,
I like
but you can't do
Wisconsin.
that. Wisconsin's beautiful too. The Midwest is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Coming, some international news. Australian cannabis growth continues, with Australian cannabis industry growing exponentially. Could legalization become more progressive? With COVID and all this stuff, agriculture, Australia's cannabis industry progresses in states and territories through Australia. There's some regulatory protection for consumers. Thank you, Australia, for that. Public attitudes and usage. So, good for you, Australia. Just keep on fighting the good fight and get it totally recreational there. Jamaica, it's a country I want to go to. Jamaica has a very long history with cannabis. The Rastafarians, if you watched and learned about anything about spirituality and different religions, the Rastafarians have a big play with cannabis and in their spirituality. Medical cannabis rule changes in Jamaica. Historically, medical cannabis patients in Jamaica had to go to a brick and mortar dispensary to purchase their medicine. That is somewhat changing via updated rules of Jamaica Medicinal Cannabis Program. Licensed retail herb houses can now sell to their qualified customers for online platforms following measures established by the Cannabis Licensing Authority and facilities. That's dope. So they can just order online. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Exports and banking hurdles. It's not only medical cannabis patients in Jamaica that want access to domestically cultivated cannabis. Rules for exports were expected a while ago, but yet unfortunately they keep getting delayed. The thing about Jamaica that makes Jamaica that makes me crazy.
You're making me crazy.
Yeah, making me crazy, man. That it's just not fully legal recreational. Everybody can just grow it there. That, is a country that's been using marijuana forever, and they brought it from Africa to Jamaica and grew it as it's just a staple there. I don't understand why it's just all political bullshit there. I just feel bad. Those people deserve cannabis. It's been in their country and in their history forever. And they use it as a medicine and a spiritual thing too, which is huge. I would love to talk to some Rastafarians and some Jamaican men and women just to find out how cannabis is in their life, and I'd love to know the history more. Just hearing it out of their mouths. I've watched documentaries and I've read some books, but to sit and talk to a Rastafarian and find out more why cannabis, because they understand the plant, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
They understand that it's from the earth.
They respect it.
Right. Very good, Mrs. Weedman.
Mm-hmm.
In Turkey, what's crazy thing that they're known for their hashish in Turkey, some of the best hashish in the world, but it's still totally illegal to grow, and the Turkish authorities are cracking down on drug trafficking, and they destroyed millions and millions of cannabis roots, not just like a couple thousand, like millions. They believe it's a lot of terrorist organizations that are doing this. I don't know. I just don't see it. I just know that hash has been around in the Middle East forever, and they have some of the best hash in the world. It's just really weird to see like the governments, the dictatorships there just have it on lockdown when it could be used for medicinal. Some of the greatest bud and hash in the world came from those countries. And we can't get any of it here. It just garbage. So, but Turkey, you need to let your people go and let them grow some of the greatest cannabis to use to make hash that we can all enjoy. With the countries that are more and more getting into cannabis and trying to do CBD and stuff like that, do you guys know the difference between marijuana, hemp, and cannabis? The crazy thing about it, some people think it's the same plant. They don't know where it's derived from. But Mrs. Weedman knows all about the differences, and she's going to tell you all about it. Take it away, Mrs. Weedman.
All right. But first I have to make mention, I gave myself a pedicure last night. It was much long overdue.
Your toes are nice.
My toes,
and shiny.
yeah. My toenails are like the hood of a black sports car. They are so shiny. So, ladies, next time you get your manicure or pedicure, tell your lady or man that you need Seche Vite quick dry top coat. The freaking shit is shiny. Okay. right? You said last night you're like, boom, boom,
Those things were
like
shiny
laser
as hell.
beams.
Oh yeah, they were
The
like
reflection.
I was blinded.
It's amazing.
They were very nice toes.
I'm sorry. So, I had to
Every
state.
man and teenager listening to this podcast that just heard about the toenails just got turned off.
Why?
Just got turned off by the toenails.
Why?
I don't know. Guys don't want to hear about toenails.
They're so shiny.
They are very shiny.
They look pretty.
Maybe they do. If you want to hear about Mrs.
I'm not like
Weedman's
saying
toenails,
some gross. No,
no.
okay, we're done. All right. Anyway, okay. So, back to what we were going to talk about: hemp, marijuana, or cannabis. What's the difference? Well, really, it kind of comes from legally what people are saying or believe is the correct terms. So we're talking about these names of this plant in a legal context. So cannabis, what is cannabis? Well, cannabis is just the botanical name for marijuana. So it just refers to the plant. And when we're talking about like the full-on marijuana plant, you know, it's just another name for it. Cannabis, botanical name. I don't know any botanical names of any plants because I don't have any need to. But when you go to the nursery and you're like, I need roses, they'll be like, oh, you need a Phloxodroma nominum? Yes, I do. That's it. Right. All right. So that's cannabis. That word that you can never spell. Phenomenon. That's the botanical name. But it refers to the marijuana plant that has cannabinoids, CBD, CBN, THC. Like the term is focusing though on like the medicinal benefit of the plant. So when you say cannabis, we think about like medical marijuana. Marijuana is the term that was used in legal weed context, but also it carries very negative connotations and perceptions. It's the term used in the Controlled Substance Act, and it refers to the plant containing more than 3% THC. And it still remains illegal, as we talk about all the time on here, at the federal level. So it's marijuana, cannabis, same thing.
They're trying
but
to,
when we talk about like more mainstream, we refer to it mostly as cannabis.
Yeah, and people are trying to.
It's a nicer name.
Yeah, there's some people fighting right now to try to
get rid of marijuana.
Like
it has negative connotations,
yes.
like a racial undertone.
Yes, absolutely. So they're trying to get people to stop saying marijuana. I can't get anyone to stop saying whatever you want to say.
Right.
But we on this program try to say cannabis a lot. I know sometimes we say marijuana, sometimes we say weed, sometimes we say pot. But we are trying to get less and less using marijuana.
Yeah. So it has the connotations, but then it also has the fact that it's the stigma because that's what's written into the Substance Act, you know, the Federal Controlled Substance Act.
I rather say mota. I like
what?
Mota. That's the Spanish way, Hispanic way to say cannabis. Mota instead of marijuana.
But can't we have a name already? We have cannabis.
Right, there you go. Okay.
I don't know. So then you've got cannabis, you've got marijuana, and then people are like, well, what is hemp? So hemp is the plant, the marijuana plant. So cannabis is the marijuana plant with THC and all of the cannabinoids and things. Hemp, on the other hand, is the marijuana plant without the THC. So it's not intoxicating. It doesn't get you high. It's not illegal. It was for a long time. People were finding there were so many things you could do with hemp. You could find a lot of hemp products on the market, but it was hard to find ones that were legitimately hemp because it was illegal in a lot of places. So it is legal now. So you're starting to see hemp farms. Mr. WeedMan and I were actually kayaking recently. And the owners of the kayaking rental place also were hemp farmers. So it was kind of cool to hear.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear them talking about, you know, building this business up in just these last couple of years. So that's hemp. Hemp is just without the THC, the psychotropic or psychoactive type of responses. You don't have the THC. So you have all of the other positivities of the plant, the nutrients and the cannabinoids and all of those things. CBD, Is there CBD in hemp?
Yes, that's
There is.
what the basically is.
Okay.
It's all CBD. Only,
It's all CBD.
it's a bead called
but below 3% THC.
0.3%.
Yeah. So, yeah. So really, what it comes down to is like people still call it weed too, but I think that people who are getting into it now versus like growing up using it all the time, it would be weed. You didn't want to call who was going to call it marijuana, but I think now more people are referring to it as cannabis. Younger kids would say weed probably, right?
Yeah, weed.
Yeah.
I mean, they say.
Or they just say smoke.
What does O-Dog call it? She calls it that loan. They call it
A loan?
No, like loan, like it's like like it's the shit. That's like really good weed. There's so many different ways to call cannabis. I mean, however, like I said, I don't care what you call it. I mean, if you're offending somebody, they'll let you know.
Right.
So, but I like calling it cannabis because it's more of a professional term, I guess, or more of a scientific term. It's actually the plant's name. So, but I still like calling it weed. I still like calling a bud or nugs. That's some dope ass nugs. I mean, this is what I grew up calling. So whatever you call it, just smoke it. So. Is that all you got, Mrs. Weedman?
That's it. Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
How'd you like that cannabis?
I think I had too much of it. So I apologize.
How'd you like the rosé?
It was good.
It was good.
It was
I liked it.
A little sweet.
Well,
I think it was a little sweet.
Mrs. Weedman's gonna go need a snack, so we're gonna.
I do need a snack.
We're gonna go. We're gonna go.
Sorry.
We're gonna go grow our bellies on the counter about another half inch and get 2 inches for all you all. No pictures though of that.
No.
But we want to say thank you once again for listening, and we love you all. I know there was some ramblings on this show, but hopefully you laugh at them, laugh at our silliness. But we do love you all of our burners, all of our tokers, smokers, chokers, stoners, potheads out there. We love you. You do my heart proud out there, and thank you. Like we always say, be nice and kind to everybody. Mrs. Weedman, you got anything else to say?
I'm pretty useless today. Thank you, everybody.
I will say
Thanks for listening.
you're not that useless because you got pretty toenails.
Yeah.
And your hair was on fucking fire all day today.
So that makes me not useless?
Not useless at all. Makes you beautiful.
Okay.
So anyway, as Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff, puff, and away.
Bye-bye.